I remember sending a message and being like, I've cried every night this week. Like, I'm okay and I'm passing everything, but I've cried and I miss my babies. And then the next week I'm like, it's been great. I'm having the best time. So it just went from one extreme to the next.
Hey everyone, this is Brody from Outperform Fitness and welcome to today's Tactical Career Chat with Fenella. So she's just joined the Army Reserves as an infantry soldier. So in this chat, we'll walk through her journey from deciding to enlist, getting through the recruitment process, tackling Kapooka, and what life looks like for her now that she's actually parading at her unit. So just a quick disclaimer, this career chat is presented as a personal experience and is not on the behalf of the Australian Defence Force. So welcome to the chat, Fenella, and thanks for offering to share your insights and enlistment journey for everyone.
Oh, thanks for having me, I guess.
Yeah, should be good. Looking forward to it. So let's get started right back at the start. So before you even joined, we just want to know a little bit more about you. So what were you doing before you even decided to enlist? What did life look like for you back then?
Well, I currently work as a registered nurse in the public system, in the hospital system. So doing that, and I'm a single mum to two boys. So I was already like pretty busy as it was. And then, so that was, I guess, just a normal part of life, was just going to work, coming home, taking care of kids, going to the gym. And so I sort of, I guess, started like that, and then decided one day I thought it might be fun to join the army.
Well, what was it? What sparked your interest? Obviously, you got to see it somewhere. Did you see some of the ads saying the Army, the Edge, let's go?
Well, I grew up, like, my uncle is full-time Army. And so I grew up obviously watching him a fair bit, which was pretty cool. And he's been trying to get me in since I was like 17, and I kept getting pulled back to it. Like, parts of my life, I'd be like, oh, that'd be good, I'll give that a go. I never thought I could do it. And then I was chatting to a mate that's ex-Army nurse about it and I thought, oh, you know what, I'm probably the fittest I've ever been. I might as well start heading down this road. So I decided to just reapply, sort of, I guess, out of a wing, just where I was like, let's just do it. Let's just see how we go. And then the further I got into it, the more like, oh my God, I'm actually doing this. And then I was on a defense page looking for how to get pointers on training and things like that. And that's when you came up, and I was like, perfect. This is what I need. I need someone who can train me, who actually knows what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. And funny story, you're talking about your uncle being Darren?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So before I even knew Fenella, before she started training with me, I actually trained her uncle and his partner in Sydney when I was there with the Army. So every afternoon, they were in my garage, lifting weights and running around the block. So yeah, and I didn't even know until we were halfway through your training with me, and it popped up.
Yeah, it wasn't until I tagged him in something of yours, and he's like, how do you know him? And I'm like, that's my trainer. And he's like, I know him. Like, oh, small world.
Yeah, it's funny.
Thanks.
All right, well, you're in your early 30s. So what made you think like this was the time to join? And rather than putting it off, or?
Yeah, I guess like, with life changes. So like, I was married and then I wasn't married, and was just going to the gym a lot more and stuff. And so I was like, oh, this is probably the fittest I've ever been. And then I guess when you have like a bit, I guess, in a change of life in a way, where I was like, well, I've got nothing holding me back besides my kids. What better time to give this a good whirl? And I thought, I'm not getting any younger. I could keep saying, oh, I'll do it next year or something, and it'll probably never happen. So I was better off just going, bugger it, let's give this a go. And I was really lucky when I started telling people what this is what I was doing. Everyone was really supportive. I was kind of a bit nervous that people would be like, oh, you're not going to be able to make it or something like that. So when I guess was getting all that positive feedback, where everyone's like, hell yeah, like, okay. And my friend that's the ex-Army nurse, he started practicing the beep test with me as well and stuff. So I had just so much positive around me that I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to fail this. Like, I've got this. So that was a big, I guess, extra draw that I was like, I know I can achieve this at the end. So
yeah, for sure. And it's awesome having that support of people around you, and especially, all those people that are already in as well. So you sort of get those insights already, the same sort of thing that you're doing for people right now, but you could ask the questions and know exactly what it's like, not just a recruiter telling you all the dreams and everything that you'll be doing. But yeah, the actual job of what it's going to be like. So super handy. And yeah, that support definitely would have went a long way for sure. Because I do know, there's a lot of people that try to go through the process and they haven't got that support. Then it's very difficult for them, and they're sort of going to hide it from
everyone. I didn't tell my Uncle Darren until I think was due to go for my interviews, and I was like, "Oh, I probably should let you know that I'm joining the army." And he was like, "Yes, absolutely." And I was like, "Geez," right, mate, we're on.
I can just imagine that.
We know what he's like.
Well, why'd you choose the reserves over full time?
A big part of it was just that I couldn't relocate my kids.
Yep.
So if Rockhampton, where I am in Queensland, don't have a full-time army base, and so I just couldn't pack them up and move them away, unfortunately. So it's not off the cards. Like, I'd like to maybe when they get older and things like that, I might consider flicking across to full-time. But at the moment, this was the best choice for me. But it also works in good because I get to do my day job as a nurse, and then I get to go off and do army stuff, which is completely different to my day job. And sort of like the best of both worlds in a way. So
yeah, that's it. And the reserves are absolutely awesome for that. Yeah, you do get the experience of the army, and at the same time, you still live your regular life. You stay in the same location with kids and their schooling, and all your regular job and everything. And yeah, you still get that additional little bit of something on top. And some people like going to the reserve and do similar to what they're already doing, and then others, just a complete shift like you'd gone through as infantry. So is that the big deciding factor of why you went infantry, just something completely different?
Yeah, and I was really lucky. I'd started the application process, and then I went to, they had like a pop-up ADF day down at the park in Rocky one day, and mate's like, "Oh, we have an open night, come on down." So I went to that, and they had all the different corps set up, and the infantry boys just sold it the best, honestly. They were like, "Why are you interested?" I'm like, "You tell me." And they're like, "We get to shoot the weapons." I'm like, "Cool, that's me, let's go." So and yeah, interacting with them, they are really great blokes that I've had. Ones we've got at Averick are really great, so it's been good like that. So
yeah, awesome. And I could imagine the nursing background would definitely help throughout different times through your training and stuff as well. Like, you're having that knowledge there already compared to someone that's just got no knowledge, especially with all the medicals, like the like first aid type stuff. For people that have got no knowledge in that and they're trying to learn that very quickly, as well as everything else that goes along with it, at least you've got that there sort of just fall back on.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a, when people talk about the fatigue aspect, I'm like, "Oh, that's fine." Or they're like, "Can you work under pressure?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can do that too." So there's definitely those benefits. And you've being, I guess, an older person, not an older person, but I'm not 18, 20 coming into the army, is that you've got a bit of that life experience too. So you actually know how to have a conversation with people and what's expected of you as a worker and things like that, which I think do help a little bit.
I think it's an awesome time to join. You've got most people that got their life at least kind of sorted out by that point. Your kids are at least walking around, and they don't rely on you every second of the day, sort of thing as well. So yeah, it is a good time, and like we've been talking about, the reserves is even an awesome option as well.
Yeah.
All right, so enlistment, how long did from when you applied to when you actually enlisted, and then Kapooka, because reserves has got that time before you go off to Kapooka. So how long did all of that process take for you?
So I started, from memory, I started sort of looking back into it in July of 24, where I was like, righto, let's get online and do the application and that. And then it was probably a little bit of back and forth. And then in November, they gave me a call and they were like, righto, here's your psych date, here's your interview date, here's your medical. And that was December and January that I did those. And I was sort of like, righto, she's kicking off. And then by March, I did my PFA and then enlisted in April. So it was a bit of once that ball really gets rolling, you're on. You're just moving along. They're getting you going. And especially if you don't have too many reasons for delay, once you have your medical, you've obviously got, some people have to provide more information and things like that. But once that gets going, and once you've passed your PFA, they can't get you enlisted fast enough. So, which was, really quick. And then I decided to go away to Kapooka. Basically 1st of August was the day we got on the bus. And that just worked in with my employer to release me for that amount of time. But yeah, so once it happened, you were like, right, she's on, we're going. So
Yeah, that's good. And what's the time frame between, like, if you know, between actually enlisting and completing Kapooka? What time frame do you have to do that within? Do you remember?
I believe it's 6 months. Like you do as a reservist, you've got 6 months, and they obviously the sooner the better. But you do have to redo your PFAs at your RIC before you go. Pending. So I know I had to do mine. Like we had a few of us heading off, sort of staggered along from ours, and yeah, we were doing PFAs basically like every week or every other week just to make sure we were all ready to go. You've got to pass your PFA again within 4 weeks of leaving.
Yeah.
So you go to Kapooka. So
yeah, because you don't want to get there. Like it's just going to waste everyone's time. You're just turning up and failing your PFA. It doesn't look good on the unit, the RIC either, by sending people like that have already enlisted and then dropped off from there. So yeah, it's good losing for it.
That's what I asked my corporal. Like, why are we doing this so much? He's like, I can't send you if you're not ready. I'm like, I thought I only had to do this once.
Never ending. So it's still like, even though the ball got rolling pretty quickly, and that honestly is a pretty quick enlistment compared to a lot of people, but what part of the process do you think took you the longest to get through?
Probably that initial application to then them actually going, because we got flicked a bit between, can't think of what they're called, but like you get a case manager type thing, and I got flicked between a few. But once they sort of decided, yep, this is the person who's sticking with you and you're now going to have your interviews, everything rolled really quickly.
Yeah,
cool. I think it was just that initial paperwork and getting that sort of done was probably what took the longest. Because, once they gave me that phone call in November, like I had contact with them continuously and I was doing something continuously. And
it's good. Awesome. Yeah. One of the good journeys through there.
I know a few people I spoke to, like down in Kapooka, like one bloke, I think he was almost 2 years, and he was ex-army and he was coming back in. And so he thought his was probably going to be easy, but and I haven't traveled overseas all that much. So that obviously helped with all your clearances and stuff. I didn't have a lot of history to document. So it's probably a bit easier in that sense.
Yeah, there's a few things that'll put some bumps in the road that you just gotta get through. Yeah. Did you pass everything first go, including the fitness test and everything going through?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, well, like my medical, I just had to supply some extra information just because like I've broken bones and stuff, and they had to make sure I wasn't completely broken. But otherwise, they were like, oh, she's sound enough for the army. And then the day I did my PFA, I remember texting you beforehand. I was like, I'm not failing this because I'm not doing it twice. And so I was really glad to pass that. And then, once we got down to Kapooka, I was glad that I was able to pass that PFA first go again and got that out of the way. So
that's good. Awesome. Throughout that enlistment time, did you ever doubt your decision to join?
Not my decision to join, but I did get nervous that I wasn't going to be able to pass this. Like, just because it was not something I'd ever done before. It was a bit left field. Like my dad, he's so proud of me, but he was very much like, oh, you're like, okay. And so I think a lot of people are a bit shocked because like I come from a background, besides my uncle, the rest of the family were all like country people and we're riding horses and rodeoing and stuff. So this was a complete sidestep from what a lot of people expected. So there was a lot of self-doubt that I wasn't going to be able to achieve this. And then thankfully I had a lot of support as well that were like, no, you're right. You've got it. You're just, So that was probably the only step back where it's not that I didn't want to do it. I just didn't want to fail the process of doing it. So
for sure. Yeah. So leading up to it, you trained with us for around about 8 months before you took off. You're still with us now, which is good. Continuing on. So what was the main initial reason that you reached out for some help with your fitness? Like, why didn't you just go through and do it yourself?
I was just getting, and I mean, it was still early in the process because I think I started training with you in December, like not long before Christmas. And I just felt like I was very lost. I didn't know, I was going to the gym and I was also following the app that's recommended through them. And I just was not really sure I was getting in the right direction, and I didn't have people close enough to me to give me that fitness guidance required for the army. And so I just wanted to come into it prepared, and that's what made me look it up on Facebook. And then, you guys were recommended, and I thought, well, this is someone who's been army, knows what he's talking about. He's training people for this. This is going to be the direction I need to head if I want to get to where I'm going. So that was probably the big one. Was I knew I wasn't going to get there on my own, and I needed someone who actually knew what they were talking about, rather than someone who's like, yeah, I'm a trainer. And nothing against, obviously, trainers know what they're doing, but I wanted someone who knew specifically what I was trying to achieve and how I was going to get there.
Oh, 100%. And it makes a difference. Like if someone came to me, like I've got a lot of knowledge under my belt when it comes to training, but if someone came to me and wanted to get show ready for a bodybuilding competition, I wouldn't know the first thing to do. I know how to sort of train towards it, but I've never helped someone do it. So there's a big difference. Yeah. I understand where you're coming from with that. Well, were there any moments when you were at Kapooka where you felt like your training helped either physically or mentally?
Definitely multiple times. Like I've never been a runner, so the sprinting day I hated. Like I was like, nope, I'm for long distance. Load me up with weight and let me go. Like, don't make me run fast. So that was probably the worst part of it all. But we had activities where we, concentrated on lifting and weights and correct lifting, and they did flick it back a lot to realistic things, like if you're picking up someone on a stretcher and stuff like that. And so those days felt really easily because of what everything in the training program had provided. And so there was like another day, I remember we had to stand on this, like there were two rails, and one of them was the top rail was probably about 3 meters in the air. We had to like jump up on it and then flip over it. And I remember thinking like, I can't do this. I don't have the strength for that. And I just did it like it was nothing. And then we had to do the one where like you're on the rope upside down and like sliding along sort of thing. And I'm like, I don't have the upper body strength for this. And then as soon as we flicked up, I was like, oh, all that training actually paid off. Like, so fitness wise, I felt very much ready. Like that, everything with the training, I just never doubted my body when I got down there that I wasn't going to be able to do this. So like, we're going for a pack march tomorrow, pack everything ready. And I was like, cool, this is what we're doing. Off we go. And yeah, I very much felt like, I was like, cool, as long as I don't have to run fast, we're fine. Like, but no,
and that's awesome to have that confidence there as well, moving into something like that. It's just one tick in the box you don't have to worry about, and just get in there and do the work.
Yes, absolutely. And then just the ability to, when you're working full time and then you're getting up and training, you've obviously got that fatigue. And then that, when we were down there, I got a bit worried to start with that I would get fatigued and I wouldn't be able to do the physical aspects of it all. And just I guess training in that sense too made a difference. And they actually told us that on average a recruit will do, especially in the first like week to 2 weeks when they're learning to march, will do an average of 30,000 steps a day. Yep. So I was like, oh, well, that's fine because I'm always made to walk everywhere with Brody, so it's fine.
Yeah, and it's true. Yeah, I've heard those stats as well. And just the marching, like, and it's not, and I've gone over this a couple of times in other chats, it's not just walking either. You're marching. Like you are so tensed up. You have no idea what you're doing. You're constantly thinking. You're all over the place.
Stepping over logs got me so much. They're like, stop stepping over logs. I'm like, there's no logs. We're on a footpath. Where are these logs coming from?
Oh, yeah. Good times. All right. Well, let's move into Kapooka now and recruit training. But before we get there, run us through you actually getting to Kapooka, because I haven't covered this before. Like, what's it like, getting on the bus? What's that day look like moving to Kapooka?
So it's kind of like about a week out, you get your flight details. So a week out, they send you this email and you're like, this is when you're getting on the plane. And so my flights went Rockhampton, Brisbane to Sydney. And I was like, oh shit, like I'm going, like this is happening. And then you get into Sydney and in the email, it's like there'll be someone there to meet you at where you pick up your bags. And sure enough, I get off the plane and I'm going to get my bags. And I've got friends of mine who happen to be on the same flight. And they're like, oh, there's an army man over there. Do you think he's here for you? And I'm like, yeah, here he is. And you're just straight into it. It's not like, hi, I'm such and such. Who are you? Nice to meet you. It's just straight like, I'm this person and you will do this. And I just remember standing there going, like, yeah. Because I was like, oh my God. And and then he's like, sit on the chair. And you're like, just sitting on the chair. And I've just got like my handbag in my lap. And I'm just like, don't smile, just stay straight ahead. And so we all got like, he found us all sort of thing. And then we just walked. We all got our suitcases and we're walking to the hotel. And so that was probably a little bit scary in a way too, because there was probably about 8 of us in that initial group, and none of us have met before. And next minute we're just all walking together, not knowing where we're going. And I don't think half of us had even been out of our hometowns in Sydney before. And then they get you to the hotel and they're like, right, you're on the clock now, like no drinking, you're not allowed to leave, and these are your roommates, and off you go. And so my roommate didn't show up until a bit later that night, and she's lovely. And so we chatted a bit and then we had to go down for dinner. And I remember we were too scared to take our phones down because we were worried we'd get in trouble. And we got down there and they're like, you need your phone for QR codes. And is it okay if we go back and get them because you're too scared to do anything? And we're too scared to talk to each other, but we're all trying to be like, hello, what's your name? And, so it was a little bit like, the first probably 24 hours, and the next morning we get up and have breakfast and we've all got our bags ready to go. And then they walk us back to the airport and call our names out and load us onto the bus. And yeah, it's just straight into it. There's no warming up. Like they tell you, I am Sergeant such and such, and you will call me Sergeant, and I am not your friend. And I was like, okay, cool. So it was a little bit like we look back now and it's all funny, but at the time none of us were going to talk to each other. I think it took us about 2 hours on the bus to say anything to each other because we just didn't know what we were allowed to do. So.
Yeah, it's funny how when you just get put in that sort of environment, it's just like every little move you make, is that the right thing to be doing?
Yeah. Oh, it was a little bit like humbling in a way too, because we were all just like dressed nicely but just sitting still, and we were like, we don't even know if we're allowed to go to the toilet at the moment, like when are we allowed to do anything? So they give you the bus ride out and it's about 5 hours, and so you're obviously starting to chat and get to know each other, and stop for lunch, and we picked up like another person, and then so you're seeing this random person sitting at the front of the bus, because you don't just sit wherever you want on the bus, you start at the back and pile your way forward. There's no spare seats, and you sit next to whoever went on before you. That's it. And I remember we getting like about half an hour out, and I remember I was busting to go to the toilet, and the bloke across from me, he was the same. We're like, do you think they'll pull up and let us go? Like, what if we don't get time to wee when we get there, type thing? And then they get you to watch this video, and honestly, I can't remember half of the video. I just remember them telling you, when we pull up, you won't talk. You'll get off the bus, put your suitcase in your left hand, walk inside, no talking. And I was like, oh, like, this is it. And just like seeing that sign that says Kapooka, and you're rolling through the front gate, and you're sort of looking around, but you don't know what you're looking at. And it's just like this beautiful green grass and buildings. You're like, oh, this looks really nice. Like,
because no one's allowed to walk on the grass.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And it's such beautiful cold country down there. So, but yeah, I remember us getting off the bus and like everyone's helping get the suitcases out, but no one's going to say anything. And yeah, so that was probably a bit. And then we get inside and they're like, oh, you're allowed to go to the toilet. And we're all very quietly go to the toilet. And looking back now, there's probably about 70 of us or 75 of us in this room. And just standing in that line, and when we call your name, you will reply, Sergeant, and you will walk out with your suitcase in your left hand. And I'm like, I'm not used to carrying anything in my left hand. I hope I don't knock it over. And yeah, that first like 24 hours was like a blur, just a wild blur, really.
So yeah, it's pretty full on, and you're trying to take everything in, and then you miss something that someone mentions. You're like, oh, I missed that.
Yeah. Like, I remember we got put into our sections. Like, now it makes sense that I was put into my section, but I just remember the corporal talking, and I'm like, I have no idea what this man is even saying to me. Like, I don't know what any of that is. And then there's other people behind doing the same thing, and they're yelling at their people, and I'm like, don't don't know what he said.
Just go with it.
Yeah. And then I remember we walked down to our rooms and then they're just like, go inside and find your room and change into your PT. And I'm like, sure. And you're just trying to find your bedroom and there's no like, oh, you'll be in room 12. It's just walking down this hallway trying to see which room has your name on it. And then, yeah, so we got in there and thankfully the girl that I had in the night before in the hotel, her and I were actually in the same platoon in the same room together. So when we got in the room, we're like, oh my God, thank God you're here. Like, it's someone I recognize, such a girl thing to do. But we were like, oh my God, what have we done? But yeah, they like, we're trying to get dressed and work out how to wear our clothes and everything. And yeah, they just baptize you by fire. Like, straight in. I didn't know why I was
the private you'll never forget.
Yeah. Like Stockholm syndrome, isn't it? Like,
yeah. I was trying to think of that the other day. I was telling someone about it. Yeah. So was it you that ran into another person that was with Outperform?
Yes. Yeah. So Hannah and I actually shared a room as well. And so we're unpacking and I'm looking at her thinking like, you look really familiar. And after a bit, I was like, do you train with Brody? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, that's why you look familiar. I'm like, cool. And so it was good to have someone else in there who knew what training we'd done to get there as well. And she was a bloody machine. Like, yeah, I mean, she bloody ran circles around me, that's for sure. But she's much more of a runner than I am. That's one way to put it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really nice to sort of, I guess, have something in common with someone when you have no idea who anyone is, you have no idea what you're doing. And then you meet someone who's like, oh, this is what we do on the outside. Okay. Like,
game changer. And just having that face that you recognize that you know, or sort of, that you recognize, you don't so much know each other, but you at least know of, and you've done the same sort of things leading up to it. So you can relate to that as well. And it's not the first time it's happened either. There's been a few people that have gone through and had the same in their platoons and stuff. So not in the same bedroom, I don't think, but yeah.
I guess when there's females, it narrows it down the chain.
Yeah, exactly.
The men, but
you get chucked in the same room. Did you have many females on your one?
In our platoon, there was 34 of us and there was only 4 females. So we were all in the same room, which was good. And like, we had such amazing platoon. Like, we became family very quickly and worked together very well very quickly, which was great. And then in the platoon upstairs, they had 5 females. So out of the 75 of us, there was only like 9 females in the whole lot. So
okay, that's pretty crazy. That's how it used to be when I went through. There was just one room, just 4 females that went through, if even that. But I'd assumed now, because there's so many more females going through, I'd assume there'd be more. Maybe it was just light on with those courses.
Yeah, I think because like with the reserves, it's only 3.5 weeks at the moment. So I think the turnover is more like, definitely when you'd get into the mess and you'd see other females around and stuff, and you're like, oh, cool, there's more of us there. And when to do some training with the full timers, and there were definitely more females in there, but we're a light on number, that's for sure.
I think it'll always be that way. It's just, draws more males. It's just the way it is. Yeah, it's that's the drop. But yeah, lots of like, even over my time, there was a big push for females to come through and take on different roles like infantry, special forces, all that sort of stuff. There's so many more females going for those roles and going through now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
Something popped into my head that I was going to, the age range of people throughout your platoon. Were there some pretty old guys? Were there some pretty young? What did it look like?
They're arranged pretty decently, probably about a good 20-year gap in some of them, to be honest. So there was a couple of young boys. I can't remember how young they were, but definitely, I think one of them was maybe 21, 22. Mm-hmm. We didn't have anyone underage in our platoon, but they did upstairs. And then I know that there was a 49-year-old in there. I think that was probably it. So yeah, like there's a good 20 more or years of more between people.
Yeah.
It didn't seem to make any difference. So in a way, like we were all, I guess, all at the same sort of level in the sense of trying to be the same level of fitness and things like that. So you didn't notice that the bloke sitting beside you was much older than you in a way until like they'd say something. You're like, oh, what do you mean you've got like teenage children. I'm like, aren't we all 32? Like, so, or the kids would say something, well, I call them kids and that, like the young 21s, and I'm like, what? And then I realize that they're babies and, still connecting.
Yeah, it really puts everyone on the sort of same playing field, and it evens everything out. Everyone, I always bring this up too, and especially all the guys, because we just shave our heads. All the girls, in buns and your hair pulled back or whatever. It's just everyone's sort of looking the same. Everyone's acting the same, and and you chat to people you chat to people that you probably normally wouldn't chat to in regular day, like regular life. And it's pretty cool to be a part of that and connect with people you normally wouldn't as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, with the course being condensed down to that, so you said 3.5 weeks. Are they long days?
Oh, such long days. So, 6:00, and I tried to joke I thought I would joke with people at work, and I'm like, oh, they wake you up at 6 a.m. and they gently say good morning, and then you have breakfast and we go for a walk, and, and then we do some yoga. But then I'm like, guys, we wake up at 6 a.m. Your breaks for the day are breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I said, and then at 9:15 at night, they're like, okay, you can finish class now and have a bath. And it took a few people, especially at work, who were like, didn't quite realize that I was literally learning the entire time I was there. Like if you're not in a classroom learning, you're out in the field doing something. Like you get back to the lines and you think, oh, cool. Like it's been dinner. We're probably going to have a wind down night tonight. Nah, get your book, get your pen, we're into the foyer. Let's do some more study. So there was definitely a lot of information packed in quickly, but
well fed.
Yeah, it was just full on. And I remember like coming home and I was just so glad to get to have a sleep because like the first probably 5 nights you don't sleep amazing because like they take your watch off you. Like obviously they take your phone, but they took our watches off us for like the first week. So you just had no idea about birds, sorry. They had no idea of the time, and so you weren't sure how long until you were going to bed, and then you'd wake up in the middle of the night and you'd see the lights on outside, but you're like, is it almost time for us to wake up? Or, so you just no sleep. So the first week is just exhausting, and then you sort of start getting into a bit of a routine and that. But definitely long days. And you think, oh, we had a big morning, they'll give us an easy afternoon, but it's on, and you have to be on all the time. Like if anyone is on their way to go to Kapooka soon, when they give you that notebook to write notes, you write everything down because you're going to forget what they asked you. Like,
and you got to remember because you'll be doing it.
Yeah, exactly. I still remember like they gave us an instruction. I think it was just to get into like PT gear or something, or it was an instruction for when we go into the foyer or something like that. And the girls, we all come back into our room and they're like, oh, Fletch, like, what did they want again? And I remember just standing there going like, I don't know anymore, guys. I'm not even sure my name. I don't know what day of the week it is. I don't know if I've drunk any water today. Like, I'm not sure what we're wearing.
It's the worst feeling when someone is saying something really important and you're really trying to concentrate and it's like, yep, got it. You walk away like, I cannot remember any of that. I have no idea what we're meant to be doing. What are we going to be doing?
And you're like standing there with the blokes across the hallway and we're holding up shirts like, and they're like across the hallway because you're trying to work out like we're all going to be wrong. Let's all be wrong together. Yeah. And you're not game to answer any questions at the start because you're like, they told us very clearly wear a green shirt and black pants, but what color green shirt is it? Like, which one is it? But because you just don't know yet. But they have explained it to you, but your brain just can't remember what they mean.
Yeah.
And you're like, which pocket did they say to put that in above? I'm pretty sure they said this pocket, but was it their right or my right? I can't remember. Like,
there's a lot to be thinking about, and all those minor details that normally you wouldn't have to worry about that sort of stuff. But someone barks some sort of order at you and tells you specifically everything that you need to do, and then you come out with something out of order, then
if you don't, it's like your ID tag slightly not square, or like your pocket wasn't done up. Like it got to the point where I remember I would go into the room in the mornings and be like, does anyone need a hand? And I'd just start patting people down because I'm checking their pockets and their zips. Because I'm like, I hadn't even said good morning yet. I just start like touching them because I'm like, we don't trust anyone anymore. Like, we're just all going to be dressed. Like, and that awesome feeling when the corporal walks past you, stops and flicks your pocket because he thinks it's unbuttoned and it wasn't. And you're like, fuck yeah. Like, nailed it this morning.
Awesome. All right, well, on to a little bit of the fitness side of things, because it is a little bit like it's way more jam-packed than what it used to be. So I'm assuming a lot of that has been taken out, noting that, obviously fitness helps you in more way than one than just completing PT sessions. But yeah, diagnostic BFA, they used to do that for all courses, both reserve and full-time, which diagnostic means just you do it. And diagnostic means that it's a trial just to see how you go. And for those that are watching, don't know what a BFA is, that's the next fitness test called your basic fitness assessment. When you're in the Army, you've got to pass that one to keep your job. It's a part of your job description. It's just a minimum standard that you have to be at. So for reservists, it's every 12 months you got to pass. Full-timers, every 6 months. But yeah, we used to do a diagnostic. It used to actually be a pass. You had to pass your BFA to get out of there. Then it moved to a diagnostic. Do you do one at all as a reserve course now?
No, we didn't do one at all, which I was prepared. I was more prepared for that than to have to redo the beep test, to be honest. Like I thought once I did the beep test once just to get in, I was done. I didn't realize I had to do it again. And that was probably my big shell shock. I was like, shit, now I've got to keep that going. Because I just hate it. It just made me so nervous. But no, they did like a sprint day and they put you into levels for that. And they were like, make sure you know what color you match with, but they never actually did anything more with it. But they definitely let you know if you were dragging the chain behind everyone.
Yep.
But no, you don't have to do it to get out of Kapooka. So
yeah, it's sort of pushed back a little bit more through IETs and onto once you're qualified. Yeah, there's just too much going on there. Like they just got so much, it'd be hard to jam in there. And as it was just a diagnostic anyway. And if they're at least doing some form of PT and letting you know if you're dragging the chain or not, then
a nice way to put what they said to us. But
So I get a lot of questions about the Army swim test as well. Again, is it even a part of the reserves course anymore?
It was a small part. So we all had to, I remember one morning they did tell us we had to go down in our cams. And so we went down expecting we were getting in the water in our cams, but we didn't have to. So I don't know if they're phasing the cams part out of it or others will have to wear it. But it was just, you had to swim the length of the pool, which I think was maybe a 25-meter pool. And you had to get out of the water a specific way. Like you couldn't just like jump up and like flop your belly over. You had to like twist yourself up. And they made us all practice on the edge where the water was the same height as the edge. And then for the actual part where you had to pass, there was a lip. And I was like, I had the biggest bruise on my leg where I like jumped up and hit my side on the rail of the pool. So I ended up with a big blue bruise on my leg. But you had to be able to do that. And then you had to be able to do a bit of freestyle breaststroke, like a backwards breaststroke and like a side stroke. And then that was it. So it wasn't as much swimming as I thought we'd have to do, because I did hear we'd have to do a swimming one. But I also didn't realize we would actually be doing swimming.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Like I was like, no, I'm in the Army. We're on the land. I don't have to be in water.
Yeah, well, you'll definitely be surprised with that. So with that, so no cams or anything, that was just swimming in
swimming gear. Yeah. So which even like the night before when the sergeant was helping us pack our bag, when I say helping us pack our bag, he's like, right, go into your room, bring out your 72-hour bag, and you stand on the hallway and you're holding your 72-hour bag. He's like, right, take that back in. Now come out with those blue swimmers you were given. You come out and you're holding that. And I had to laugh when we had to do things like that, because I was like, it is so simple and trivial, but we have to do it because we're going to forget things. And there were still people that know, were like, how many sets of like underwear and like socks did we have to pack? And you're like, 2 sets. Don't pack less just in case. But yeah, like he told us we would be in our cams, so we had to pack extra clothes to come back in, because he's like, I'm not walking you back in your wet cams. So we were all expecting to jump in the water, boots and all. But maybe they just do that to just G us up to get us mentally ready for it.
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised because there are different scenarios throughout people's careers, like being deployed. You have to go off and do HUAT training, which is helicopter
Yeah.
underwater escape training. And that one, yeah, you're fully clothed, you're blindfolded, you're turned upside down while you're in a mock up helicopter or plane, whatever it is,
Yeah.
spun around, all the water's up your nose, you don't know where you are, and you got to escape out of it, like do certain things to get out of the little capsule that you're in.
Yeah.
So at that point, you definitely want to at least be able to save yourself in the water with kings on.
A little bit. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I was expecting for us to make us tread water. Like that was something I sort of thought, and I
Yeah.
can't remember the last time I've done that. But yeah, we didn't have to do any of that, which I think is probably a good thing because there were a few people who couldn't swim at all, and I don't think they knew they had to be able to swim in some way. So yeah.
Surprising. But either way, yeah, it's good to get in there and get that sort of stuff because you never know what could happen, where you could end up. And yeah, at some point you could be in the water and fully clothed, sometimes maybe even with body armor on. So you want to be proficient in the water.
Absolutely.
Yeah, at least to be able to save yourself. All right, let's move on. So yeah, swim test, we went through that. Did you have any major setbacks throughout your time in Kapooka?
No, I was pretty lucky. So I was lucky I passed everything on my first attempt, which was probably one of my main goals. I was like, I didn't want to have to reassess. I didn't want to have to reattempt anything, and I didn't want to have to come home from Kapooka and tell my corporal that I'd failed something and had to do it back home. So that was one big thing for me. I did hurt myself on the last physical day on the obstacle course, on the last obstacle, which I was like, well, thank God it was on the last one. But yeah, no, I was pretty lucky in that sense. I think there were definitely days though where I didn't know how I was going to go, like trying to remember a lot of the content and sitting there. I'm like, I have no idea what we're even talking about anymore and things like that. But like there were other people in there that, you know, there was a couple of people who hurt themselves and that sort of set them back, and some that didn't quite pass things and they had to reattempt things. And but I guess we considered ourselves such a good platoon in the sense where if someone failed something, especially one of the like theories or like your first aid sort of stuff, we all started helping them and being like, okay, what do you need help with? What are you not understanding? And things like that. So we really worked as a team to get everyone over the line.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think it's probably a good thing for the Army, you know?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's what it's driven off, really, that teamwork. It's a massive part of it, especially, you know, if you're going out of your way to help someone. This is brought up time and time again throughout these chats. It's like you go out of your way when you're good at something to help someone else that's struggling through it, because there'll come a day where it's going to be back the other way. They could be good at something and you're the one going to be needing the help. So yeah, you always go out of your way trying to help people that are struggling, especially if you're good at it. Don't just, you know, be the person that's awesome at it and you're not sharing with sharing your skills with everyone else, because it's not going to get the team anywhere. It's not an individual thing when it comes to the Army. It's a collective team.
Well, that's what we did on like the first aid stuff. Like obviously as a nurse, that was probably my easiest units. I think I could have slept through them and still, you know, passed that one. So there was myself and a paramedic in my platoon. And so we purposely would go to those who were struggling and be like, righto, like let's work through this together. And one bloke was really nervous about his assessment. So we were like, cool, like you jump in on my group, we'll do it together. That way then we can get you through, sort of thing. Like you still have to do your own assessment, but we were like, you be the casualty first and I'll be the treater. And then that way you sort of, you know, freshly in your mind and things like that. And so that was definitely something that you have to be able to do to survive Kapooka. But I think in the Army in general is we start together and we finish together, and you might be the fastest runner, but you're only going to be as fast as that your slowest one, or, you know, you might be able to run fast, but you can't lift the weight. So you really need to work together. And, you know, even simple things like learning to put our weapons, pulling them apart and putting them back together. Like, you know, some people couldn't quite remember those parts where others got it really quickly. And you're like, we're not gonna be able to pack up and leave if not everyone can get it done. So
yeah,
that was definitely one part of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry.
What is that?
Oh, I just thought I'd flick a light on.
Oh, I can hear something in the background. It's like, sounds like an alien ship or something.
there's a motorbike heading down the road too.
Oh my word, it's coming across really weird.
I live out of town on this quiet dirt road.
All right. Well, were there any moments where you thought like, shit, this is tougher than I thought?
Oh yeah. I remember sitting there in the hallway. We did flight mode where you bring your chair into the hallway and we all face one direction, and it's normally when we're eating, like if they're making you eat in the lines, you sit in flight mode. And I think we're probably just over a week in, and I remember just sitting there eating breakfast, just staring at the wall, and I was like, I just don't know if I can do this. And I was missing my kids like crazy because we'd gotten the chance to call home, but my kids were asleep because it was 8:30 at night, and mine are only young, like they're 5 and 3, and this is the longest I was away from them. And so I was starting to struggle, just emotionally missing them. And so I was just not having a fun time. And I remember thinking like I could just bail out. I could just be like, nah, this is too hard, I'm going home. But I wasn't going to do that. Like I wasn't going to fail this. I'm like, if I pass it, this will be a huge achievement. I can tell my kids I did this, so, but yeah, like there were definitely those parts where you're like, I don't think I can do this. And I remember after the sprinting day, I did not want to do another PT session because I was like, oh, if they make us sprint again, like, okay, I'm going to have to pretend I pull a Hemi or something to get out of this. But yeah, there were moments like that. And then like sometimes you'd hear like the corporals yelling and stuff, and you're like, oh, like if I mess up, I'm going to get screamed at, and I just don't understand what's happening right now. And, but like, so there were definitely those parts. And there were other people in the platoon that were thinking of going home, where they just had enough, and we all sort of talked each other into staying, and we're like, you can do this and stay. But yeah, there were definitely moments where I was like, this is hard. This is really hard.
So. Yeah. And even when you were just talking through it, then like just reflecting on, the reason you did it, like you decided to join to start with, like, and all those people that are supporting you through it and everything as well, just thinking about that sort of stuff. And yeah, not wanting to go home and go, you know what, I didn't make it through. Yeah. And just having that hang over your head would be way worse than just toughing it out and getting beat the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember like I got to get my phone one night and I'd set up like a great group chat of basically everyone who'd been supporting me, because I was like, I'm not going to have time to text everyone. I'll just send one message out. And I remember getting on my phone and just seeing all these messages from everyone being like, has anyone heard from her? Is she okay? Like, and that was to know that there were that many people at home worried about me, but like supporting me. I was like, okay, I've got this. But yeah, I remember sending a message and being like, I've cried every night this week. Like, I'm okay and I'm passing everything, but I've cried and I miss my babies. And then the next week I'm like, it's been great. I'm having the best time. So it just went from like one extreme to the next. But yeah, when you think about being able to come home and be like, we did it, we did Kapooka, and like we're on the other side now, it's definitely a huge achievement.
Yeah, definitely. A bit of mixed emotions there. Well, what was the most difficult thing, would you say, for you to learn throughout your time there?
Probably a lot of the comms stuff. So like the weapons I found not too bad, because pulling it apart and putting it back together, I was like, oh, there's not as many parts as I thought. And to start with, learning about the weapon was a bit confusing because I haven't had a great deal to do with them at all. And then once you put your hands on the weapon and then they take you back to a part of the theory to re-explain it, you're like, oh, everything makes sense now.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the comms stuff, I remember sitting there going, I don't know what that means. And like worldwide, we know like about Zulu time and stuff. And I remember being like, Sergeant, I don't understand how we can have 26 letters in the alphabet, but only 24 hours in the day. And he's like, yeah, that doesn't add up. I'm like, no. So there were parts like that where I remember thinking like, I have no idea. And then we're going through all this comm stuff. And I'm like, I don't remember how to turn a two-way on now. Like, I have no idea. I thought I knew how to do that. That I don't think I do. And you're just writing notes as fast as you can. And then they go to the next slide and you're like, okay, not learning that tonight. And then they finish part of the training like part of your, that little part of the comms training, and then they'll ask questions and they point to you to answer it, and you're like, and you just flick through your book. You're just flicking through trying to find something that will relate to what they've asked you so you can answer that. And that was probably my hardest sort of theory lesson.
Yeah.
And I struggled with the most and that. So everything else, I think physical wise, was just like a mental game where you're like one step in front of the other, just do what they say, things like that. So that was, but I remember just getting very lost in that. And I remember we did one night where I were learning how to write like your date and time things. And I remember saying like, I got the right answer, but I don't know how I got there. And they're like, how did you do that? I'm like, very good question, but can we just double check that I've actually done this correctly? So
yeah, stuff like that that's super foreign and you've never experienced and it like never had anything to do with it ever before. It's that's the stuff that's difficult to learn. And because it's taught at such a fast rate as well, you think, I'm never going to get this. I'm never going to get this. And then all of a sudden you start doing it. You're like, oh yeah. That's what we were doing before. But it is very, very stressful trying to remember all of the stuff when you're just starting from absolute scratch. No idea about any of it. I remember, even for me, the comms, I remember that one being, because you never even experienced any of that stuff before. And then you're getting on the radio trying to transmit all of these messages, and you're trying to think of all the like the alphabet that you got, the phonetic alphabet. You're trying to say all of that at the same time as you're trying to go through all the points in the message and everything. And then you got to remember to say your call sign properly and all this sort of stuff going on. And it's just like a brain explosion a lot of the time, and you just end up freezing.
Yeah, I remember doing my assessment. I was like, "Oh, this is 35 alpha." And Coop was like, "No." I'm like, "Ah!" And then like giving a grid reference, and I was like, "I repeat," and he's like, "No." I'm like, "Oh." So I don't think I'll ever say "I repeat" ever again like that, because I was like, "Oh, that's probably the biggest mistakes." I kept saying things like that, but
easy to do, but that's the sort of stuff you remember, because that's repeaters is one of those ones that is it's always highlighted, and from there you'll always remember, and you will be the one telling other people not to say it next time. All right, well, just like with all your staff there, did they ever get you to do any sort of crazy task? I heard you talking about flight mode before with your chairs and stuff. I've never heard that one before, but did you have to do any sort of crazy tasks? I remember one for me going through, there'd just be one day, they obviously had a bit of spare time, and they said, all right, you've got to move your room to the room to the hallway room across the hallway from you, and everything's got to be in inspection order in whatever it was, 5 minutes. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
So we had to do that. And then it's just, the whole purpose is to stress you out, and it's just not there to be completed. You're not going to complete it. You're going to attempt to, but the time frame's just way too there's not enough. And then you'll fail it, and then you'll do another one. Oh, no, go 2 doors up now. And then by the end of it, it's like, put everything back. You got 15 minutes to get everything in inspection order. So did you have anything along those lines that you can remember off the top of your head?
Ours was a getting dressed one. So, it was like, righto, I remember we're all standing out in 4 alpha in the hallway, and then it's like, right, get into PT Bondi, which is, your PT gear, but with thongs. And then we've done that, and we've come out, and then they're like, right, now go get back into bed. And we're all just standing in the hallway, because this is, 3:00 in the afternoon. And we're like, as they're all standing in our rooms, we're like, are we meant to be like literally in bed? And then they called hallway, and we all come out, and they're like, where's your fucking blankets? And we're like, oh. And so next minute we're trying to change outfits in like 2 minutes, and we're all just didn't know why we were being made to change multiple times, and we're trying to remember what outfit matches what, because next minute we're getting into Charlie, and none of us had even pulled those clothes out yet. So we're like, I remember like running back into my room and just hitting my knees and sliding along the floor to get my bag out of my bed, under my bed, to pull my Charlie shirt out, and I'm like throwing the girls their clothes. And I remember we're trying to get each other dressed. Like one girl's doing her buttons up, and I'm tying her shoelaces, because we're like, the faster we can all get ready. Like, and so that was probably our most chop and change day, where we didn't, but thankfully we didn't have to do the ones where we swapped rooms because we had heard of those.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I can't do that. I can't be carting mattresses or shit around. Like, that's going to take me too long. But yeah, that was probably our most chop and change day where they made us go back and forth like that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
sorry, now I've got mum pulling the car out.
All good. Well, yeah, just on that sort of topic, are there any like really funny moments or stuff ups that sort of stand out for you at all?
Yeah. We had this amazing bloke. His name, I won't say his name. Oh, fuck it, I'll say it. His name's Kwan. He's amazing. I'm gonna make him watch this video because this was our best moment. But we're all standing there lined up on parade, and you're not allowed to have your hands like that. They've got to be like this. And the corporal's up in us, and he's like, "What are you getting around thinking you're gonna have, a dick in your hand?" And we all sort of, you're giggling. You're still not sure if you're allowed to laugh yet. And anyway, good old Kwan standing in the front row, and he like looks down at his hand. The corporal's like, "Did you just check?" And he looks down again. He's like, "Yes, corporal." And yeah, the corporal lost it. He just he walked away laughing, and then he's come back, and that was probably like the best moment that we knew like we were all going to be okay. Yeah, we wrote so many down in the book of just funny stuff that we all had to say. But we had those, and then I remember because you're not allowed to look at them either. You're not allowed to look at the corporals when you walk past. And the corporal one day was walking out of a room, and I was walking along, and I looked at him and smiled, and we didn't have to yell at them anymore. And I was just like, "Excuse me, corporal," and he's like, "Steady," and I've had to stand still, and he's like, "Don't look at me." And one of the other girls walked out of the room, and he's like, "Stand in front of her." And so she's standing like nose to nose with me. And he's like, "Tell her not to look at me anymore." And so she's trying not to laugh, and she's like, "Don't look at him anymore." And we're like right staring at each other. And then probably about half an hour later, I was in talking to the boys about something for the next day, and I could tell someone was standing at the door. And I look over, see the corporal, and I'm like, and I just eyes left. And I'm trying not to laugh, and he's like, "Keep going, Fletcher, keep talking." And I'm talking away, and I'm like this. And the boys are like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm not allowed to look at him. Has he left yet?" And so then for ages, I just wasn't if he walked down the hallway, I just stared at the wall as I walked along, because I was like, "I'm not allowed to look at you." So that was just funny things like that they definitely do. And then we had one bloke that they made him do the washing machine, where he's standing doing the door knock procedure, and they just kept making him do an about turn. And so we can just hear him going, "Check 1, 2, 3, out." And we're just yelling, he's yelling and yelling. And we're all just standing in the hallway listening to this poor bunch who just do circles out in the foyer. We're like, "Oh man." But we wrote everything down. Everything what was funny, we wrote it down. And so that we could, remember some of the stuff. But yeah, it was those moments that are definitely, you start remembering the funny bits, and you're like, "Oh, that's right. We actually got to laugh and shit all the time." But
there's always some good moments there, especially when you put under that sort of stress, like that guy not even knowing if his hand's in the right position. "Oh shit, that's me."
And then just be a normal person. When you're learning to march, you're just walk like a normal person. You're like, "I don't even know what a normal person is anymore."
You'll crack up. There's even Bunnings ads that I've seen. Was it Bunnings? There was some stuff on Instagram I've seen come out, and they talk about forgetting how to walk, and just when you've been in the army, you understand that. Because you're just thinking about it way too much, and then all of a sudden you start doing all these weird things. Why try to walk properly?
And they're swing your hand to breast pocket height, and then they're yelling at you. They're like, "Stop punching God!" And then there was "Stop punching the clouds. They're not gonna cry," and things like that. So, but yeah, you can't remember how to do anything, and I remember one bloke was standing there reading one of the notice boards, and the corporal standing beside him, and he couldn't remember how to execute a turn to walk off. So he just stood there. The corporal's like, "You gonna leave?" And he's like, "No, corporal, this is very interesting to read," because he just was like, "I can't walk away." He's like, "I don't know how to."
Awesome. Yeah, your brain does funny things.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, finishing up on Kapooka side of things, just before we do, is there anything any big standout moment that you'll sort of always remember for the rest of your life from that time at Kapooka?
Probably like there's such minor things in a way too. Like I remember putting my weapon back together. Like first time we've just pulled it apart for the first time. We've just been shown how to put it back together. And I just was like, and I had it so quickly put back in. And I just remember sitting back and I turned to the corporal and I was like, done. And I remember her looking over and she was like, fuck yeah. And I was like, cool, I've impressed someone. Like, so just like little moments like that where you got those, but not even personally, like even someone else in the group, when you got those little wins, you know, one of the chicks had this amazing grouping. And so the corporals were really happy for her for that and stuff like that. So those were some amazing things, and just how we all encourage each other. Like it's such, like we are just a family now. Like we still message each other. I mean, we're only a couple of weeks out, but we've got the group chat going, and there was like tears when we left. Like, you know, you're only together for those few weeks, but you just bond so quickly. And so even though we let all this stuff, that was probably some of the bigger parts taken out, that I've got all these lifelong friends now that we've gone through hell together, and you know, come out the other side. But yeah, that
Feels
was probably
like a lifetime when you're there too.
Oh yeah. We couldn't remember like how long we'd been there at some point, but at the same time we're like, oh, we've only got a week left. What do you mean? Like, yeah.
Well, now you've started creating at your unit. So yeah, what does that look like for you at the moment?
At the moment, we're still going through, because I've got LCM training and other training to go through and that. So we're still with the same little group of blokes and that. But
so that's just on that. That's continued training from your recruit course, is it?
Yes, yeah. So instead of doing like the 6-week blocks and that, now they break it down for reservists, so that essentially they worked out that a lot of employers wouldn't let their staff go for too long, so they shorten the blocks. So we've just got a bit of that to do. But yeah, we get there and you feel more a part of the army now that you've passed Kapooka too. Like beforehand, I got to go to a couple of parade nights, and you sort of, you know, they talk about something. I'm like, I have no idea what we're even talking about. And now you have a little bit more of an idea when they're mentioning stuff. But yeah, you get there and you do a bit of PT and have showers. And now coming back from Kapooka, you like shower so much faster because you know how to get ready quickly, and you know your corporal knows you know how to get ready quickly. And then we just go off and do sort of, depending on what the unit's up to. So sometimes there'll be other training going on. We can jump in with like the engineers or things like that. And so we get exposure to those different elements. And then if we've got particular exercise or training coming up, our education will be tailored more towards that, which I think is really cool. Our corporal's pretty amazing. So if we're like, oh, I'd like to practice this a bit more, he's like, yep, okay, we'll look at putting that in the next few weeks and stuff. So
yeah, that's good.
definitely a huge benefit in that. But yeah, you feel everyone's really welcoming too. I found, like, you know, you get there and doesn't matter where you come from or what, they're like, yep, welcome to the family you're in now. And yeah, so
yeah,
I'm enjoying it, that's for sure.
Yeah. And yeah, like you said, you feel more a part of the unit rather than before you'd gone off to Kapooka. Like now you've learned all those majority of those basic skills. It's still ongoing, but you've gone through that bit of shit at the start that everyone else does. So you can relate that a little bit better to everyone, because everyone's gone through that.
Yeah.
Now, how, like, have you got long before you're able to finish off all the rest of that training?
So I go away for LCM, which is Land Combat Module. I go away for that in early October. Well, I'm put down to go in, you know, typical army. Sometimes you have to still wait for them to say you're actually on the course. And I think there's about 3 or 4 of us from my RIC that are going. So hopefully we all get to go. And then I think there's like another 2-3 week block or something that's got to be done to be, you know, passed out on that part and everything. But yeah, we get to wear our slides now. So I'm like, I feel like an adult who's, you know, got my pen license now. I get to wear my slides, so, which is good. But yeah, like, but you're always learning. Like, you know, obviously I'm very early into my career in that, but there's even some blokes that will be doing something for training at night and they're like, oh, right. And they're learning the information again too. So, which I think is really good. Yeah.
So you're still a part of the RIC. So you're not actually in the infantry role just yet, but just up until this point, like, how's it been, like the environment for a female going through as an infantry soldier?
It's been interesting. So, because, some blokes are still adjusting to the fact that you're female in the male role. Because, like, I remember when I was 17 looking at joining the army, I wanted to go infantry and women couldn't join it back then. But my corporal down in Kapooka, she is also infantry. So I got to ask as a female how that works and things. So that was actually really cool. We had a family night recently where you could bring friends along, and one of the other infantry blokes brought one of his friends along, and he thought I was one of the cooks, and he thought it was cool that the cook got to do some shooting. And I was like, oh, and the other boy's like, no, mate, she's infantry. Like, she's a part of that. But I'm definitely getting myself prepared for the fact that obviously I've got to carry the same amount of weight as the blokes and that do. So just making sure that I'm like up to the challenge and making sure I'm fit enough to do that and strong enough. And I'm a bit of a believer that if you're a female going into a man's industry, you need to be able to actually do the workload. So just making sure I work on that still. So yeah.
Same job there, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, no one's going to carry my stuff for me because someone else is going to carry theirs. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Are there many other females in there in that unit?
Not really, no. There's a couple in engineers and things like that, but I'm not sure exactly how many females we've got there because I've only seen maybe a handful of them in that, but yeah, definitely male dominated. So and being a smaller reserve unit there as well too, like our numbers are obviously not as big as others and stuff, but then sometimes people show up and they're like, oh no, they've been here for years, and they don't get to parade all the time. So you definitely notice that as well.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, looking forward, what are you most excited about? You're moving into your role. Like, are you excited to get kickstarted with your actual infantry stuff, or is there, your LCM? Are you excited about that? What's the next big thing for you? What are you excited about?
Well, obviously I'm excited to do each unit and find out more about the job. So then when we're actually talking more about the stuff on the nights, I understand more about what we're talking about in a way. Like, I remember for Kapooka, people would say things, and then now that I'm back, I'm like, oh, this all makes sense now. And, for years growing up, my uncle would talk about things and I'm like, I don't know what he's even talking about. And now I'm starting to make more sense. So I'm excited to understand more how the army works. But to be honest, I can't wait to actually get to go on my first proper exercise. When you've got once you've done all your training and you're not on a assessment type one, but an actual exercise. And I mean, obviously they're all a bit of assessments, but just actually getting to go out and do the job you've been training for, I'm kind of excited. To actually get to play and see how I go. So I'm excited for when that actually happens.
Yeah, you'll get over it.
Yeah. Part of me is like, I can't wait for the next 2 years, but then I'm like, oh, that sounds tiring too. So
no, it's definitely it's good to get out there and put it all to use and everything that you've been learning, because that's what you're training for, is that sort of stuff. And you rarely, because the Defence Force is very different to something like the police. Like police, you learn everything, you go out there, you're doing the job on a daily basis, sort of thing. Defence Force, hopefully you're not doing the job on a daily basis, because we're all at war if you are. So there's limited times you can actually go out and put your skills to use. So those exercises, that's the whole purpose of it, is because you go out, sharpen your skills, and and you definitely learn a lot while you're out there too.
Yeah, definitely. And you're training for the day when you do have to use them, but you don't ever want to have to.
Exactly.
Like that, where in any other role, that like you said, police force and stuff, but even in nursing, I know one day I'm gonna, give someone CPR and stuff, and you train for it, and then it ends up happening, and you're like, oh yeah, I knew that would happen.
Yeah.
But I hope I never actually have to use some of the skills I've been taught. So,
Better off ever prepared, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's right. What is it? You rise to your train? No, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall to your training or something.
Yeah, sink to the level of your training. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I need to learn it because I really liked that saying, but I can never remember it.
All right. Well, let's get into a couple of quick points, a couple of advice for others. So for someone that's listening who's thinking about joining the defense, but they're not too sure if they can handle like basic training, and they've got those doubts there, what would you say to them?
Oh, just do it. Honestly, you can listen to everyone's stories and you know, you be ready, obviously be ready physically and that, but the mental game's the big one. You go in prepared that you need to be a family. You know, that is what we are. And you'll have rough days and you'll have good days, and it's over before you know it, but then you come out and you feel like you've just achieved the most greatest thing ever, because this is what you've done. And definitely if you're on the fence, like, find people around that are Army or ex-Army and people that you respect, or, call up your local unit and be like, hey, can I come in and see what it's about and stuff like that. And it's just a huge achievement. It really is. And it's a huge battle when you're down there and you're having those rough days, like I said, and you're sitting there staring at a wall wondering if you really want to do this anymore. But, like, we spent 21 days in each other's pockets and we all cried when we said goodbye, because we were now this people that were stuck together, sort of thing. So yeah, no, definitely just do it, because once you've done it, and Kapooka's not like the real world, like the real Army. No one's screaming at you like they do at Kapooka.
Yeah, that's it. It's designed for a specific purpose.
Yeah.
And that is to train you up the quickest way possible, really, and break you into the Army ways. And to do that, you're under a hell of a lot of stress. You learn new habits. You get put through all that. Yeah, as you said, it's not the real Army. A few training establishments are close to that.
Yeah.
But like when you get out to the actual job, way different. Way different.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, that'll do us, Fenella. What are we going for? Yeah, well over an hour now, hour and 10 minutes. Absolutely awesome. Loved everything that you said. Sound like you had I'll say an awesome time, but take that with a grain of salt. Thanks for sharing your story with us. It's been really, really good. I always love, getting people fresh, because you're pretty fresh out of Kapooka. So it's all really recent in your mind and fresh in your mind, so you can share, all those funny stories and everything as well before you forget them, even though you probably never will, because they're all burnt into your head.
Yeah, absolutely. They're living rent-free there for a bit.
Yeah, for sure. All right, thanks again. And for anyone that's listening, who's on the same track, preparing for everything, ready for basic training, if you're thinking about defense and want to start building up your base before enlistment, make sure you check out our FIP service training plan. That's the one that Fenella jumped on prior, and she's still on it now, trying to build up a fitness ready for the things that come within infantry. So I'll chuck a link in the description, or just feel free to reach out to me. Anyway, I'm on. So just look for Outperform Fitness across the platforms. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are the main ones that we put our stuff across. So yeah, feel free, send me through a message and I'll help you out. So Fenella, again, we really appreciate your time, and thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you.